So we all just love each other, and we all just come together. And when we coming on off the field, we telling each other what we see. I think that's the biggest thing in a running back room, just having that relationship with your brothers, knowing that, we all in it together. We all in it for the same goal, same end goal.
Here come the Irish. What a run! Touchdown! Play of the year for the Irish.
Welcome to the Indy on NBC podcast. I'm your host, Corey Robinson. Congratulations, Notre Dame is over 500. Now, after that game, the Shamrock Series game at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, walking away with a victory over then number 16 BYU. Now, number 19, they fell a couple spots, but a 28-20 victory. Now, if you watched the game, a couple of things should have jumped out to you. One, Michael Mayer. I mean, to understand Michael Mayer's impact right now on Notre Dame, on tight end U, if you will, because, everyone has like running back U, QB U, but Notre Dame tight end U, Michael Mayer is making his mark. So congratulations there. And the other thing that should have jumped out to you was Logan Diggs' performance, almost at 100 yards. And we got a chance to talk to the sophomore running back after a huge day, and he was all smiles. And he had a lot of great nuggets. I mean, I walked away inspired. So let's take a listen on what he thought about the performance against BYU in that big game and looking ahead to Stanford. Logan, I'm so stoked to have you here on the Indy on NBC podcast. First and foremost, congratulations. Big game against BYU. Let's just go back and revisit that. 17 carries, 93 yards. How did you feel about your performance?
I felt pretty good after the game about it, but once I, went in and watched film and got to talk to Coach Dealin, and I left a lot out there. Like I made some mistakes. I missed a couple of my reads, but it's a learning experience. But I'm still grateful to be out there, playing football at the highest level. So it's a blessing.
What was the experience like playing in such a marquee event? Because the Shamrock Series is kind of like a mid-year bowl game. It's like you're playing in an NFL stadium and all the hoorah. You're wearing like a new jersey. How would you describe the feeling of being a part of such a marquee event? In the middle of the season.
It's just it's Notre Dame, man. It's that energy that the fans bring, that this atmosphere bring, that this logo and this brand brings. It's just global. So it's a special game. I mean, every game for us is really a special game. For all my teammates, we're big on fate. So it's like any chance you get out there to go out there and show the world, play in God's name, and, do it for your teammates, do it for him. It's just a blessing to be out there.
When you think about your career, I mean, I know you're super young, but when you think about your career, are there any games that jump out to the forefront saying, wow, that was really special for me for whatever reason? I grew up a fan of that team growing up or whatever it might be.
I would probably say, you said my biggest college game?
Yeah, that was very special for you and your family.
BYU was a really good game for me. Me coming back out from my injury and all that's been going on, finally able to, get my opportunity to, showcase what I can do. So that was really a big game for me. But I would say probably the biggest game for me probably was the Fiesta Bowl. Real learning experience, real humbling experience for me. And that game just kind of, put that chip on my shoulder, just, never get comfortable,
How do you respond to being humbled? Because you think about on this stage, especially with the injury coupled with that, how did you face that adversity?
I mean, it was real tough in the beginning, but my parents, my grandparents, my mom, it's God's plan always, God do everything for a reason. So if it was meant for me to, him to put me through that task and put me through that trial to make me a better Logan Diggs at the end of the day, I just had to look at it as, pain, hard times don't last forever. So I just really attacked it, and, I did my own research, quick as you can come back is 4 months, 4 to 5 months. So I worked hard trying to get back. So, get back to this team, be able to contribute.
And it was a torn labor, not the blue goal game that we're talking about, that injury, just for everyone listening. And when did you know you were clear and you could play in the fall?
I knew I was clear at a practice. I was running and I tripped and I fell and I kind of caught myself in a push-up position with my elbow, and I was I got up and I was maybe I am good after all, because I fell pretty hard, but I caught myself. So it was it was firm, it was strong. Like I didn't have no problems when I got up. It was just like, I guess that was a sign saying like you ready, like it's time.
And just walk me through that recovery process because torn labrums, I mean, that's tough, especially for a running back. I think about all that. That's like, isn't
Right.
this like where all the hitting comes from? So
So
when you're thinking about the mental side, obviously the physical side, we know of what that rehab looks like, but the mental side for you day in and day out in the spring and in the summertime, what kept you grounded?
really, I'm really and truly just my relationship with God, relationship with my family, my mom. Everybody gonna have those days when you're going through hard times where you just, you feel like giving up. You like, what am I doing this for? Like stuff like that. But like when you have a good circle around you and good people that genuine people that really care about you, then the sky's the limit because like there's no limitations on what you can really do.
What can you just talk about the relationship with your mom? It seems like she's been clearly a big part of your life. What has she taught you that you carry with you every single day?
She just told me like, all you can ever do, Logan, is trust God. That's all you can ever do. Even when times when it's not going your way, when it is going your way, be thankful. When it's not going your way, be thankful, because that's just God giving you all that you need, like to become a better man at the end of the day. So like really she just really works on my character. Like she leave the football up to me, but character and who I am as like when I'm talking to people, like who is Logan Diggs, that's how she kind of raised me. So that's what I'm thankful for.
Who do you want people? How do you want people to remember you when they say, "Hey, I met Logan Diggs and I watched him play at Notre Dame." How do you want to be remembered when they say, "Oh yeah, who is that guy? Who is Logan Diggs?"
I just want people to know Logan Diggs as a great person and a phenomenal running back in all aspects. He can do everything. He can run the ball, he can catch it, he can pass block, he can cut on a dime, he can play receiver, he can play special teams. Like I just want to be, the best version of me that I can be. So when people think about Logan Diggs, it's just like, oh, he left his mark. Like he was a baller. That's how I want to be remembered.
I remember when I was playing, there were these moments where I would come into spring ball, and have like one or two things I wanted to really put work on. I was a receiver, so I thought releases or whatever. Summertime, same thing. I thought I want to work on acceleration or whatever. Fall, if you can kind of, when you said you got humbled after the Fiesta Bowl, that spring, that winter, what was the one thing that you were working on? And then in spring ball, what was the one thing you were working on? Could you just kind of go through each of the seasons and tell me, what aspect of the game that you were working on heading into this season?
So coming summer, I mean not summer, coming into the spring, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
January through like I was a little banged up after the Fiesta Bowl. So my main focus was to get in my upper body bigger, stronger, and just doing that because I couldn't do anything lower body for a minute. And I was just working on getting bigger, stronger upper body to match my lower body because I have you know a big lower body. So I was just trying to get my upper body the same size. And then summer came around, tore my labrum, so I had to just focus on getting my legs straight, making sure my conditioning was right. Like I was running like basically with a sling on. Like I'm out there doing conditioning with the team with my arms like just stuck up here, and it's like I'm just running, trying to make sure I'm in shape. So when it is time to come back, I will be ready, and that's what I'm most grateful for our training staff. Like they kept me in shape, they kept me looking forward and like never back. So once the season time came and I was cleared to go, and they just put me in. I'm into the rotation, because I'm conditioned, I'm ready. I'm already learning football. I'm learning the plays again, and reviewing everything. So I was ready to go.
When you think about week to week adjustments, this offense has seen it seems like y'all found your stride. You're starting to put up some really nice consistent performances, obviously getting in the win column. How would you describe the current offense right now? What is the feeling when you're out there with each other? Do you feel comfortable?
I feel more than comfortable because when we break that huddle and I look at my centers, my guards, and my tackles' eyes, they know. Like they look at me, they look right back at me. It's like I'm doing this for you. This is for us. Like we doing this for the university, for our families. Like you can see that look in everybody's eyes. So when I look at my team and look at everybody in their eyes and they got that same look that I have, I know they got that same drive and that same fire in their heart. So it's like we just about to come out and we about to attack. We about to attack for the whole game, all 4 quarters, 60 minutes.
The offensive line was something that was like one of the big question marks heading into the season, and I know running backs have a close relationship with the O line. They're
Yeah,
like the bread and butter for you guys. How have you seen this offensive line improve week to week?
man, it's really crazy. Like at practice today, me and Archer just had a moment with each other. We like, bro, like this old line, like they getting scary. Like Coach Harry's doing a really good job with them. Like they still out practicing, going out to practice right now. It's like 20 minutes post practice. They still going with Coach Harry right now. Like they have a nonstop motor. They just want to get better. And anything Coach Harry telling them, they listen and they gonna do it. And that's and we learning too. Like when they listen, when they talking and getting information from Coach Harry, we right there in his ear, seeing what he telling them what to do, what's gonna affect us. So it's like that relationship that all of us have in that backfield is just it's crazy. The O
The
line
backfield.
really
Oh,
good.
sorry. Yeah, the backfield seems like a really an amazing group. I mean, you guys have, you just mentioned Audrey Estime and of course Chris Tyree as well. It seems like you guys have something special there. What is that secret sauce as far as just, getting along with each other and pushing each other? How would you describe that running back room?
Man, we just love each other and we all got that same goal, man. And Coach Dealing does a very good job of coaching us up and putting us all in the position to win. So it's like it's never ever in that room, ever, never any selfishness, never any it's just selfless in there. Everybody, when your number called, you go in there and you do your job. And Coach Dealing instilled that to us. And when you go in there and you do your job, more opportunities will continue to present itself. So we all just love each other and we all just come together. And when we coming on off the field, we telling each other what we see. We telling what you could have did better. And there's never any like any love lost. Everybody's open to learning and everybody open to opinions. So I think that's the biggest thing in a running back room, just having that relationship with your brothers, knowing that we all in it together. We all in it for the same goal, same end goal.
And when you think about some of the running backs who have played at Notre Dame, some incredible running backs, and I always see Jerome Bettis on the sideline too. Have you had a chance to learn from any of the alumni?
Yes, sir. Kyron had a really, really, really big impact on my future and on where I am now. And Jerome Bettis, I've talked to Jerome Bettis a couple of times, and he just gave me his wisdom of the running back position, and even just life at Notre Dame. So probably Kyron and other people, not just running backs, other alumni, but mostly Kyron and Jerome Bettis.
What did Kyron teach you?
Kyron just taught me that mindset that you need to have to be a running back at the college level. Like I came in as a good high school running back. He prepared me to be a good college running back because watching him practice every day, watching how he approached the game, watching how he practiced, how he executed in the game, how it translated, just watching him and his mindset, like even in the weight room, Kyron just had a different mold. He was a different animal. So I mean, I feel like he kind of like rubbed off on our whole running back room. And Coach Dealin he came in and he's polishing it off.
And this is a big week. Stanford. It seems like because every time I watch a Notre Dame Stanford game, it like undoubtedly comes down to like the last drive or the last. I mean, it's like crazy. It's just unbelievable these two teams as far as like it's always a game. And there are a lot of big plays that Stanford leaves out on the table historically, this past season. When you look at this Stanford team and you're studying and stuff, what is the mindset for you in that running back room heading into Saturday?
We take the same approach, every single week. It doesn't matter who the opponent is. We're gonna come out and we're gonna execute. We're gonna do our job. We're gonna run the ball. We're gonna pass protect, and we're gonna catch the ball if needed. We're just gonna do our job. And Stanford's gonna always give us a good run. They're a great team, so we just gotta come ready to play.
And now, this is an Indie on NBC podcast, so we kind of lean into the student athlete, side. So I want to ask you more, but just about your student life on campus. What's your major? What dorm do you live in? Just like the Notre Dame intro.
All right. So if I was introducing myself to a class, I'm Logan Diggs, political science major, sophomore, and I'm in Duncan Hall.
Hmm. How do you like political science? Why did you choose that major?
Uh, I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm really more focused on my two minors, real estate and entrepreneurship. But political science still can set me up to know what I need to know to when it's time to get into that business world.
Yeah. Well, why? What's the pull and the draw to real estate and entrepreneurship for you?
My family. I know my godmother is a real estate agent, and watching her do it, and she makes good money, and I mean it's nice. Like I like seeing nice things. So like, so she shows people nice houses and stuff. So like I just saw the liking to it, and my career how I want it to be. And when I do make it to the league, I want to invest my money in real estate is a good way to go with land and everything. So I feel like that's really good for me.
Are you involved in anything else on campus?
Not really, no.
And just like, it's one of the cool things about Notre Dame is, you say you live in Duncan. Can you just talk about maybe about your section, some guys that you've met there? Have you been able to kind of like have any friendships in the dorms or in your classes that you find really special?
Yeah, but I probably make most of my friends like at Duncan at the student center, like meeting people like that. But in my hall and like in my section, I was on the third floor, so like all those guys that I met, every time I walk in, hey Logan, how's practice? You know what I'm saying? They just welcome me like a brother, and that's all you can really ask for. That's why I love the people at Notre Dame. It's never always about football.
And my last question for you, I know you're a busy guy, but I'll let you go. My last question for you is favorite campus tradition so far?
Favorite campus tradition? I would probably say I like going to the grotto. I like to just sit there and just meditate and just think about how far you came, how far how blessed you are to be where you at. So I just like to go share that moment and just sit there and talk to God, and just meditate.
Well, thank you so much, Logan. We can't wait to see you guys play at home in Stanford, one of my favorite games under the lights.
Yes,
Can't
sir.
wait. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem. Go Irish.
Thank you, Logan. It's always so much fun for me to sit down and kind of hear all aspects, right? I mean, it's so cool to hear how Logan was inspired by his godmother to pick up that real estate minor and all the little pieces, around his journey, learning from Kyron Williams, and now putting it all together, coming back from the injury. I mean, can you imagine? What a cool story. Thank you. Coming up next, we are going to take a little bit of a different turn. We are very interested and invested in tradition at Notre Dame, clearly, but how many chances? I mean, how many opportunities in a lifetime do you get to talk to the Leprechaun? The answer is not that many. But thankfully for you, thankfully for me, Ryan Coury, the Leprechaun, came on the show and he told us all the secrets, what happens beyond the rainbow, behind the pot of gold. How do you become the Leprechaun? Who knew? We know now. Take a listen. It is now my great pleasure to be interviewing Ryan Coury, the Leprechaun. This is one of those things that, as a Notre Dame fan, you kind of dream about, Ryan. Personally, I was around a few Leprechauns being a football player there, but this is the most like in-depth I've ever really got into. So let's just dive right in. Why did you want to become the Leprechaun? That's an iconic mascot.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually kind of funny. So I had a couple friends that were on the cheer team that I knew last year, and pretty much I had seen them repost something saying like, "Oh, tried to be the Leprechaun." So I went up to them, I was like, "Hey, should I just like mess around and try out?" And they're like, "Actually, yeah, do it." So kind of tried a little bit on a whim. It was always something that was more like, like, oh, this is a dream that would always be awesome, but something that I could never do myself. And then things just worked out, and here I am.
What was the tryout like? Because I know it's a huge deal. I mean, I went to one Leprechaun tryout. It was like in this gym, standing room only. It was packed. So, I mean, for you actually being a part of that, what was that like?
Yeah, it was definitely pretty stressful, I'll be honest. And I kind of went into it, like I said, just trying out on a whim, seeing how it went. But I'd say the thing I just kept telling myself is, you know what? Like, if it doesn't work out, I didn't lose anything. But essentially, it ended up being kind of a whole 3-day process. Day one was kind of anybody who was trying out went into a lacrosse game, had a certain amount of time on the clock just to do their thing, engage with the crowd. Night two was a full fledged like whole tryout process where they'd give you a prompt. You have like 3 minutes to prep, little pep rally, do a little improv, fake reporters, all that good stuff. And then the last day was kind of during the blue gold game. We had some time on the clock, very similar to the first day of just engaging with fans. So it was very intense, very involved, but I really enjoyed the whole process, and it gave you a whole glimpse of like what you do on the job. So yeah.
Did you and your friends, going into that, the improv segments are kind of the thing that jump out to me. Did you have like a go-to thing, like a move or that you already had in the beforehand, or did you make it up on the spot?
Man, for one part, it was like a pep rally sort of thing. So you knew like like couple points like that you like. Okay, I'll go in, I'll figure out something to say for like whatever prompt they give me, and then I'll just run with whatever like cheers I was planning on doing anyway. But then the other improv part was like, I don't know, completely off the cuff, just hope for the best. But
That's
yeah.
exciting. So I got to ask about the decision. So how did you find out?
Yeah, so there are actually technically four of us leprechauns, and we all kind of split games, split different sports and everything up that way. And we got an email essentially after the last day of tryouts that said, "Hey, congratulations! We would love for you to represent one of us or one of the leprechauns this year as a part of the Notre Dame cheer team." So after that, we were all able to meet that night and meet all the other new cheerleaders that went through a very similar process, I guess, for the cheer team. And yeah, I guess it all came together really quickly that one day, and it was just like, wow, one moment I'm just the student hanging out, and the next moment I'm representing the university in a whole different way. So it was pretty cool.
And you represented the university at College Game Day, right? I mean, you were
Yes.
there. I saw those videos. We were actually me and a producer, Morgan, were actually on there for College Game Day. You may have met her, and then recently, of course, at the Shamrock Series, you're at an NFL stadium doing stuff with the Blue Man Group. What is the burden or weight, or what is that responsibility like representing the university at the biggest stages in college football?
Yeah, I mean, game day was really interesting because like I had never really done like a football game or anything like that before. Like I had done half a soccer game, and that was kind of my whole experience. So I went to that. I was like, I don't know, let's give this a shot. But the thing I always tell myself, like whenever I'm in a position where I'm like, okay, I know a lot of people are watching, like I know really like this is not the time to mess up, is like everything I'm doing is just like I'm Catholic myself, so I just tell myself, it's for God's greater glory. It's not about me. If I mess up, then like that's God messing up. That's not on me. So just kind of framing it in that light and in the sense of that it's not really my own work that I'm doing. It definitely humbles it a little bit. So it's kind of cool.
Did you ever have, because for football players, when we're about to go out there are times you can get a little nervous, right? But it's your job to like hype everyone else up. Are there moments of nerves going into one of these big games? Like let's say College Game Day, your first football game, and it's a top 5 matchup. Do you get nervous?
Yeah, a little bit. Kind of. I guess the biggest thing I thought was like, man, just don't trip on the flag. When you're running out. That's the biggest thing. I was kind of stressing, but no. Part of it, nerves come a lot before the game, but then once you're in the moment and once you're hyping everybody up, it's like, all right, like I'm in the zone now. I'm focused up. So, yeah.
What was the most electric moment you think? I know we're only halfway or so through the season, right around, but is there one moment where you think this pep rally or this moment on the field is kind of in my upper echelon of Leprechaun moments for myself?
Wow. Man, making me think on this one for a little bit here. I would say like that first win at home when we were playing Cal this season, that was something really special. And kind of being able to do the alma mater. I after the game I swapped my leprechaun hat for one of the players' helmets. But kind of that feeling of being able to look up at all the students and just I grew up a Notre Dame fan, and I was always like, man, how cool is it going to be when I get to sit in the student section? And then when I was looking at that from the field, it was like, wow, this is a whole like different experience I was never expecting. So that was probably when it really clicked, and I was like, this is something huge.
Yeah, I just got chills. So thinking back to, I know you said you grew up a Notre Dame fan. You work at the admissions office, right? I mean, you're a tour guide. What has been your Notre Dame experience like so far? Pre-Leprechaun, you're in Dillon Hall, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Dillon Hall, smartest, strongest, humblest. It's okay to be jealous. You know how it is. We always have to plug it. Yeah, so I actually worked my sophomore, so I'm a junior right now. Last year, I worked for Fighting Irish Media. That was kind of a big thing I was really involved in, and I kind of worked as a cameraman like at the games. So I was always filming like volleyball, basketball, especially a lot. And with those, I kind of started to be like really close to the last Leprechaun, Pat or Gabe and the other guys, and I started realizing like, man, this is really fun getting a hype of a crowd like this. So I think that was part of the reason that I ended up trying out as well. But I guess the best way to describe everything else I do on campus, it feels like it's all about conveying Notre Dame to other people, whether that's like filming sports and being able to share that across like different media platforms, or whether that's in admissions, talking about why Notre Dame's so great, why should students apply here. It's all just trying to share the little bit of the magic that is Notre Dame that I'm sure you are well aware of as well. But that little secret was really something special.
How would you describe that secret, the magic of Notre Dame?
Man, I, I don't know. I mean, that's the hard part, is putting words on it. But I guess the best I could come to is just the idea of a Notre Dame family, and the idea of everybody always being there to support each other, and that Notre Dame is all about loving each other and doing so as much as you can. So I think when you get to see that in athletics or admissions or whatever the light might be, that's what makes the difference, you know?
And then I know, obviously, being the Leprechaun, you have so many parts of, the tradition. You're like, actually, you are a tradition, which is kind of crazy. But do you have a favorite campus tradition that's not yourself?
That's an interesting question there. Man. Okay, so one I kind of liked a lot. This is like such a niche thing too. The first like major snowfall that we have of winter, there's a big snowball fight on South Quad. It's kind of like North Quad versus South Quad. But I came from Arizona, so I like there's no snow there. But I don't know, the first time that happened, I was like in shock, and then ever since then, it's been one of the coolest experiences. So random little tradition, but I love that thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and there were always snipers up on Dillon and alumni. I remember.
There are. Oh yeah, it gets violent out there.
But I want to go into the actual game day, because a lot of our fans, they follow Notre Dame football. They see the walk, they know the mass, and they go play football. What is your game day like?
Sure. So typically for like most of our games kick off around 2:30. So we'll meet with the cheer team around 9 o'clock. We'll go warm up in the stadium, move equipment over, just kind of get loose for the day, get in the right mindset. And that still is like one of the craziest things. Like, oh, we're just gonna casually walk onto the Notre Dame football field. I'm like, oh, nice, all right. So after that, we'll head back to our locker rooms, change. That's when I'll like get into the suit and everything. And then the first thing that we'll do, I guess, as a cheer team or as Leprechaun for game day, we'll be going to Marcus Freeman's victory march. So that's kind of like the new player walk, where they're coming from the Basilica. They have a little pep rally outside the stadium before they head in. So I'll do that. I'll kind of tee him up, let that roll. After that, we'll go typically to a couple different tailgates around campus. So usually we'll actually have about 3 different Leprechauns active on a game day, just spread all across campus at different events and engaging different donors, fans, etc. So once we wrap that up, we'll double back, have lunch, and then head to step off, where kind of the band will march from the dome over to the stadium. And from there, that's pretty much right into the game. So, yeah.
When you're running out of the tunnel, because few people have run out of the tunnel, if you really think about it. And as a player, that was always one of the most, I don't know, it's a special thing. So for you, how would you put into words the feeling of running out in front of 80,000 fans? Like, how do you even come close to putting that into words?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I definitely, once I had learned that like I would have that opportunity, I'd set a countdown on my phone, and I was like, all right, 125 days away, et cetera, and just started letting it go down. But I think the best way to describe it is like it almost feels like that moment's just blacked out from my memory. Like I'm right there, I'm exhilarated on the field, and then all of a sudden it's just over. It has happened. But it's definitely one of the most special things, especially growing up a Notre Dame football fan, where you get to make that difference and you get to have an impact on people's lives like that. So it's really cool.
What were your parents' reactions when you called them and said, "Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I'm the Leprechaun"?
Yeah, they were pretty excited. They were pretty surprised a little bit.
Really?
Well, I guess before I tried out, I'd called my mom and I was like, "Hey, Mom, I'm thinking about like trying out for this thing. What do you think?" And she pretty much was like, "Well, you can't do a flip, so good luck." But I was like, "All right, thanks." But yeah, no, they were ecstatic, and my dad, like, he raised me bleeding gold and blue. Like driving to Costco on Saturday mornings, he would be playing the fight song, blasting the victory march, etc. So they were very excited, and my dad especially was excited to hear he had a reason to come out to South Bend for all the games this year. But
And then I know I've seen Pat, the former Leprechaun, Patrick. He was on a commercial for March Madness. It's just kind of like crazy. So what happens post football season? For the Leprechaun, just help us get through that mindset.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the way it works. So we have 4 of us, right? And we all just kind of have divvied up different sports that we cover. So I guess once football is over, we move on to the next sport. So basketball, and then after that, for me, softball. We'll just kind of keep rolling through different events, different seasons, and engage the campus however we can. Especially in the spring, like there's not as much going on a little bit once basketball season's over. So we have that opportunity to kind of like go to more dorm events, go to more campus events, and start hyping up clubs that way. But that's something we're trying to be a lot more intentional about this year. Is like, how can we use our image? How can we use the platform that we have to build up other groups on campus? So.
And I know you're a finance major. What is next for Ryan Coury? Like let's say, I know you're junior, but like down the road, what would you like to do?
Yeah. Frankly, I'm not entirely sure. Like you said, finance major. I'm a real estate minor, and I'm kind of just all I've really learned is that I love engaging people. I love kind of having the ability to give other people the gift of something that they might have otherwise not had. So I think business is a great way to do that, and figuring out what side of business, whether that's in sports or whether that's more like on the marketing finance side, that is, it's really exciting. So got a little bit of actual searching to do, but that's the general gist for sure.
But I mean, I think the resume is going to stand above everyone else around there. See the Leprechaun, like, oh, Leprechaun.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Ryan. Congratulations on living the dream. Notre Dame fan who becomes a Leprechaun. Keep bringing us wins, will you? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Corey. Yeah.
Make NBC Sports Predictor a pregame ritual every week. Play Irish Pick'em for free and have a chance to win $10,000 each week. Rush the end zone and download NBC Sports Predictor app today on the App Store and Google Play Store. Thank you so much, Ryan. What a pleasure that was. So when we think about where the season stands right now, we're in an interesting position. Stanford's coming off of a 4-loss streak. It's not a good place to be. Notre Dame's in a 3-game win streak. Great place to be. But this rivalry, first of all, means a lot to me because every single Stanford game I've ever seen has always come down to like the very end, just like I told Logan. It just is crazy. There's something about these two teams when they match up. Anything can happen. Records go out the window. It just becomes elemental. Then you add in the lights and the moment, prime time. Coach David Shaw is going to get his team ready to play. He's been here plenty of times before. You don't have to look very far in the past to see those great Stanford teams. So the culture is there. The team's not performing right now. They only have 1 win this season, and they haven't beaten FBS team since last season, which should give you a little bit of relief heading into this weekend, considering that Notre Dame is starting to get more and more comfortable. But the biggest takeaway for me is, can we continue to see this Notre Dame team gel? If this is the case, week to week, we've seen it from Cal to BYU just recently. If we can see them take the next step in a rivalry game prime time and continue to build, then we might be in for something pretty special. I don't know how special you can get with 2 losses, but right now it seems like there is a renewed vigor and confidence around that Notre Dame team that might take them the distance. We'll see. I'm an optimistic person, but look for big plays against Stanford. Their defense gives up a lot. We'll be back next week with reactions to the matchup with Stanford and preview Notre Dame's next game, a home game against UNLV. So be sure to download and subscribe to the Notre Dame on NBC podcast on the NBC Sports YouTube channel and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Go Irish.